Three, two, one.
Well, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. It's round 5 of the Legacy Australia Racing Championship Supercars season, and we are here at the Circuit of the Americas. We kicked things off in Magellan, and then we went and had a bit of a run over in Australia back home, and now we've flown these cars all the way to the States, much like they did in 2013, and we are running the layout they did that very year as well. It was dominated by Jamie Whincup and Holden. He won 3 of the 4 races. Fabian Coulthard, the only other driver to stand on the top step of the podium that weekend. Who will stand on the top step of the podium tonight after these 2 100k races? My name is Isaac Fogarty, and we welcome you to Simple Racing Broadcasts this evening, wherever you're watching from across Australia, New Zealand, and indeed around the world. Joining me tonight in the booth, as always, is Mr. Jared Cole. Jared, welcome to the booth. It's lovely to be alongside you once again. Looking forward to this one this evening. It should be pretty exciting. Circuit of the Americas, it's always a challenge in the supercars.
Yeah, absolutely spot on, Isaac. Good to be back with you again for the week. It's been a busy week of racing, this one, and what a way to finish it off. Coming to Coda is always good fun, even more so in proper Ford and Holden supercars. What I'm really looking forward to seeing tonight, of course, this layout, one of the Circuit of the Americas layouts that does really have some pretty significant track limits. We're very used to seeing the NASCAR layouts being used here, and you can pretty much drive just about anywhere you want with those layouts. Not so much the case tonight. It'll be interesting to see just how many slowdowns we find being given out tonight. I expect there'll be a few.
I can imagine there will be a few, and we were told just before we went on air by Henry King that there is only 20 incident points on offer before you get a drive-through tonight. So pretty harsh conditions for the drivers at Coda. Expect a drive-through or two to be handed out, not just by race control, but by the game as well. Before we get into qualifying, which is just a few moments away, we might jump over and have a look at the championship standings. And it is Aaron Gilbert and Brett Loxton separated by just 20 points, but they're making a run for it away from Miguel Costa Texera, who sits in P3, who also has a healthy gap of just over 100 points, back to Daniel Stevens in P4. So a bit of a runaway at the top of the standings. Bray Loveridge sits in 5th place, only 8 points behind Daniel Stevens, and then it's Colin Bruns in P6, who's only 4 points behind him as well, so pretty close in that little group. Henry King not too far off them as well, so it's a nice little battle in the mid section of this top 10. Matthew Day sits in position 8, and it's Phil Manuel in 9th, and Michael Hammond in 10th, sort of a little bit away off them, but Matthew Mellor's only 8 points behind him, so a couple of drivers looking to maybe try and get themselves into the top 10 as we get towards the halfway point of this season. Remember, it is 10 rounds, and we are at round number 5, so this will be the halfway point. Matt Mellor, James Clark, Mark Poynton, Gavin Cox, and Brodie McConkey are 15, then Richard Mayer, Dina Lacey, Scott Watts, Jason Merrifield, and John Holton, your top 20. And I think that means qualifying is not too far away from getting underway here, which is fantastic news. But look, it's heating up in this championship, Jared. We're starting to get into the season now, and at the top, it is sort of Aaron Gilbert and Brett Loxton running away from this, but that mid-pack of the championship, especially in the top 10, is looking pretty feisty.
Yeah, still plenty of battles to be fought and plenty for the drivers to still chase at this halfway point. And even out in front, I mean, obviously it's been a pretty solid showing so far from Loxton and Gilbert, and they've certainly got a good lead built up as we get to the halfway point. Long way from unassailable though. It doesn't take much to turn that around, and when you think about some of the rounds that we've got that still lie ahead of us, in particular, you know, you've got the Bathurst 500 that is on the horizon now. It's not too far away, but we've still got, you know, we've still got the Bend, we've still got Detroit, we've still got Sandown, we've still got Adelaide. Anything can happen at any of those locations. So I wouldn't be getting too excited if I was in the top 2 at the moment and getting ahead of myself, thinking that there would be a definite trophy in my future. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see if they do survive and get some clean races in over the next few rounds, and it's going to get harder for sure, but definitely nowhere near decided at this stage.
No, absolutely nowhere near decided, and the hard work starts now. Really, you've done a lot of the groundwork to lay the base for your championship charge, and now you really need to not undo that. Make smart decisions between now and the end of the season, especially at the Bathurst 500, which will be a co-driver race. So as we jump down to qualifying here, drivers are used to doing this on their own and just sharing the car between themselves, but now they've got to work together with a co-driver, and as a co-driver, the pressure's on you really to look after that driver's season. Phil Manuel on your screen at the moment. Drivers doing their out laps, getting ready to go qualifying here. Gavin Cox just in front of him. These old FG Falcons looking fantastic. Harry Dodds in front about. I'm just looking at my numbers. We've got about 20 to 30 cars out this evening, so a decent sized grid. The average for I'd say the average for a supercars grid in general, as you would come to expect, but most drivers now starting their qualifying laps. This is Harry Dodds coming out of the final corner and about to cross the line to get his lap underway. 15-minute qualifying session here to set the grid for the first of 2 races. And then I'm not actually quite sure what we're doing in terms of the reverse in race number 2.
No reversal tonight. It will be a straight run through as they finish in race 1. That's where they'll be starting in race number 2, unless I've completely misinterpreted both the race sheet and also the iRacing session settings. Stranger things have happened. I'm not saying I definitely haven't, but pretty convinced that it is going to be just a straight run through in terms of finishing positions for race 2.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that, because that means that qualifying becomes a little bit more important. We're watching Aaron Gilbert here running through the lap. He's just come into the back end of this section. This is turn 12, 13, 14, and then the nice loop back to turn 15. You've got to get the car stopped for the double apex that is that corner. And then he'll run through, well, it's 3 corners chained into one, 16 through to 18. And you need to be really careful. This is a triple apex and really have to look after the tyres. This is going to ask a lot of the cars through this evening, I'm sure, especially with no traction control. And across the curb at turn 19 and then down towards turn 20. Now, it's not actually 20 corners on this circuit. We were discussing this off air before we started the broadcast as Gilbert crosses the line to lay the ground marker in there. Brodie McConkey's actually just dived into the lane despite setting the best first sector. So interesting choice of strategy there, maybe just getting his eye in a little bit, or he's found some traffic and knew he wasn't going to improve. So thought it best to dive into the lane and put on a fresh set of boots. But yeah, we were talking off air. It gets to turn 1, you run all the way to turn 6 on the Grand Prix circuit, and then you'll take the shortcut. The shortcut doesn't have any corner numbers, so the next corner you run into is at the end of the back straight at turn 12. So in about the space of 3 corners, you jump up 6 corners, which is interesting to note in the way that they've done this layout here at Circuit America. So it's a little bit confusing, but I guess they've done that because everyone who races this circuit will be familiar with the numbering of some of these corners when Formula 1 comes here. You can see here Miguel Costa Texeira demonstrating where we cut back away from the Grand Prix circuit, throw it through the chicane there in the shortcut, and he's actually just going to get out of the way here, but he looked pretty aggressive up to that point, and it's a good little circuit for these cars, isn't it, especially with that chicane.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and we'll see a lot of cars sliding all over the place tonight, I'd almost guarantee it. Hey, bit of random trivia on the corner numbers. You probably, obviously, you pointed out the difference in the numbering is unless he looks up that front left and where it does jump. That is the imperial numbering system as opposed to the metric numbering system that we're used to in Australia. Now, I can't verify the authenticity of that fact. It may have come from the top of my head. It may be a real thing, but in any case, that's what I'm going to put it down to is purely the imperial system that the Americans use.
The imperial system almost also famous for using letters in their corners for some reason, because we need 12A and 12B at circuits just to confuse us. But hey, if we started on that train, we'd be here all night, and we certainly don't want to open that can. Scott Perrins, a name that is very, very familiar to the drivers or to the fans here at Several Racing Broadcast. You would know him from Tuesday nights at ASR. He's jumped over to LARC to give it a go, see what it's all about, and he's jumped in the Holland Commodore to back up the Chevy Camaro he runs on a Tuesday night, and he's looking fantastic. Very simple livery for Quantum Racing, just the team name plastered on the side, but it looks great, looks the part, and he's turned out tonight, sitting 16th in quality at the moment, last of the cars that have set a time, but he is 7 seconds away, which indicates he hasn't really done a lap in anger yet.
Michael Hammond's managed to pick up some damage somewhere on that lap. I don't know whether he's hit a wall or what the case might be. I haven't seen anything come through, but he's picked up a meatball, so he's obviously just trimmed a wall somewhere. Harry Dodds is another new entry tonight. We haven't seen him racing before this evening. So along with Scott Perrins, he's joined the fray this evening. There was one other, I'm sure, and I'm just scanning the list of names out on track. Nicholas Appleween from Bad Biddies Racing, also racing for the first time tonight here with Legacy Australian Racing Championship. So it'll be interesting to see what he can pull out of the bag. Dodd's certainly putting in a good showing early. He's up in 6th at the moment. We do know, though, that, of course, the last 5 minutes is where we start to see some of the quickest times in qualifying. So I imagine there's still a bit left in the tank at the top end of the field. As always, though, Loxton and Gilbert almost in absolute lockstep on the timings up there.
Yeah, business as usual between those two, isn't it? They've both put a lap in there, and they're out lapping now. This is Brodie McConkey, who's actually yet to set a time in this session.
Again, though.
He was looking quick. Yeah, he was looking quick on his first lap, and I'm not sure what happened to that. He tips it in and runs towards the final corner now, turn 20, hard on the brakes. Gets it rotated very nicely across the curb, and this should be the top of the timesheets for Brodie McConkey, is it? It is. He jumps, well, almost 5/10 clear of Loxton and Gilbert, so that is a benchmark for Brodie McConkey, and really just come out swinging in his first representative time that he has set here this evening, and I think that was what he was trying to do in that first lap, but found a bit of traffic. So moves to the top of the sheets. Brett Loxton, he's on a bit of a lap here. I don't know if this is going to be an improvement for him. We will find out as he crosses the line.
That one.
Oh, just an L. I got very excited. Aaron Gilbert's actually on a good time, though. He's coming towards the end of his lap, and he's improved. So he's actually got a personal best. The blue indicating a personal best sector for our drivers. Red indicates they're not improving at all, and purple indicates that it is the best of anyone in the session so far. So no one setting those purple sectors right now. That was Brodie McConkey on the previous lap that was doing that. Aaron Gilbert through the triple right-hander, 16 to 18 now. across the line towards turn 19. Across the line goes Matthew Deere, sits in 12th, and that's where he will stay. Gilbert towards the line. What can he do? Stays. Oh, we're still waiting for him to come across the line. It does look like out of the final corner. Here we go.
There it is.
And what will it be? Does it improve? I don't think it does. Jumps to second. There we go. Significant improvement. Jumps. It takes a little while to think about it, doesn't it? With those lap times coming through.
Does a little bit of just a little bit of a systems check, I suppose, to make sure that the time is accurate before it goes on the board. But Gilbert's setting a what was that? About 4/10 quicker than his previous best. Brady McConkey's back into the pits. Yeah, it's a good amount of time, and it's exactly what we seem to see every time we come racing with these things. The qualifying times drop significantly as the track gets even just a little bit of extra rubber laid down. As we bounce up and over that inner chicane, it almost gets the cars airborne. I reckon someone's going to do it tonight.
If they do it, I will be very excited. I like seeing these cars with 2 wheels off the ground, but 4 wheels off the ground is also just as fantastic. Gavin Cox jumps up to 9th place, so a big improvement for him. Matthew Day, what can he do as he runs towards the line? Bray Loveridge has just jumped up a couple spots as well. Across the line for Matthew Day, stays where he is. Daniel Stevens jumps up to P7, so a fantastic lap from Stevens to find himself up the order and well inside the top 10. This 3 car has looked quick on occasion this season. He's had a bit of bad luck here and there as Deere also jumps up to P5, but he's had a bit of bad luck, Stevens, on a couple of occasions this season. But if he can put in a good qualifying performance tonight, we could see a decent run from him. This is Henry King on his lap at the moment. He has not improved in Sector 1, looking quicker in Sector 2 though. Colin Bruns also looking to improve on his lap as well. He's got 2 personal bests so far as he runs towards the line. He'll be just in front of Henry King. You can see him in the foreground there in the 111 Holden Commodore. And there he is for Proline Esports. Harry Dodds jumps up to P7. Into the lane goes Miguel Costa Texera. Henry King comes to the line now out of the final corner. Colin Bruns will not improve. Can Henry King find some sort of improvement here? Not this time around. No, he does. There we go. 8th place he jumps up to. That is a significant improvement for Henry King as well. Found a big chunk of time there. Wayne Taylor's just jumped up to P13. So, as you said, Joe, we're getting into this last 5 minutes. The track evolution is really starting to come alive, and the times will start to fall. So, if you're in the pit lane, you want to be getting out of the lane very, very slowly. You start getting a time, and you do not want to be caught stranded in the later stages of this qualifying session.
Yeah, spot on, Isaac. You really need to be out in about the next, 30-40 seconds if you want to make around an out lap and actually get a flying lap in. Being a 2-race event tonight, the qualifying will cut off immediately, so there is no headroom at all. The drivers need to complete that lap before the 15-minute mark, or they'll be kicked from the track. So they definitely need to be thinking about getting back out there. Look, you've got about 10 seconds from now, drivers, so if you're going to get on it, then now is the time to do it. Just watching the few drivers that are in the pit still. Matt Mellis, Scott Watts, Scott Perrins, all still in or around the pits, so it'll be interesting to see if any of them manage to get out. But I think we are pretty much at the point where that's no longer going to be possible for them. Henry King has improved in the first 2 sectors. Now he's looking to get up further into the top 10. Nicholas Aboyne in his first run. King's coming in, so he's happy with where he sits. That's interesting. He's in a good run there.
Unless that was a mistake somewhere that we missed off screen to indicate that there wasn't going to be an improvement. Nicholas Aboyne is on a really good lap here. He's had 2 personal bests. He is pushing on with it, so not diving into the lane like we've seen a couple other drivers that are on improving laps have gone. And Bad Biddy's racing across the line. Is this going to be an improvement for Aboyne? It is not. He stays where he is. Brady McConkey, bit of a contrasting results for him so far in this lap. He's on a purple sector 1, but then red sector 2. So I don't know if this is actually going to be any sort of improvement here for him. It cuts is ever so slightly. Cuts 10th off it. Wow.
He's not mucking around, is he? Michael Hammond in 6th. Will jump 1 position. He's up to 5th. Jason Merrifield just in the lane at the moment. Craig Bell coming around the final turn. There's not going to be a lot of time left for these drivers. If they're out on track now, they're probably going to be okay. There's not a lot of opportunity if you're only really just coming to the end of your out lap now. So Stevens is going to have to really push hard. Aaron Gilbert's got one last shot at improving here, but with no purple in the first two sectors, it seems unlikely to me that he's going to get McConkey's time. That said, we'll wait and see what he can put up there. I think he'll probably get close if he can keep it nice and tidy through the last couple of corners. But I don't think he'll get any closer than maybe about a tenth of McConkey. McConkey's been so quick, so consistent, and it's a slower third sector there is not going to help Gilbert at all. And well, he does improve his time a little. It's not going to make really any functional difference, is it? That wins on a slower lap as well. John Holton certainly running a slower lap this time around. Phil Manuel not looking like he'll improve. Brody McConkey's still out there and going for another one, but it's a very, very slow lap.
Is improving. Can he make it to the line though? That's the question.
40 seconds, he should be right. Yeah, he should be right here. And this will probably be the last time we see. What if he can snatch second on this final lap? It's going to be pretty close actually. Comes out of the final turn. Here's the line just ahead. Slow final sector.
In anticipation, he doesn't improve. So stays
Nathan Allen asking if we can swap Isaacs for the night. No, mate, you keep your Isaac, I'll keep mine, and you just enjoy your time in race control there this evening, my friend.
Yeah, I'm quite happy not being. Yeah, I was going to say that big hello to everybody tuning in. It's great to see people getting in and saying g'day as we wrap up qualifying. But no, I'm very comfortable in the commentary box, so I might just stay here if that's all right, Nate. Thanks. So. I'm not interested in jumping in race control. Yeah, but exactly. Better catering up here in the commentary box. Race control not looked after as well. This is the grid. This is how they'll line up for race number 1 this evening. Brody McConkey and Aaron Gilbert share the front row, and McConkey is looking fast here tonight. Can anyone stop him? Brett Loxton, Miguel Costa-Texeira on row number 2. Then it's Michael Hammond and Matthew Deere on row 3. Harry Dodds on debut and Henry King rounding out row 4. Then it's Matthew Day and Daniel Stevens sneaking into the top 10, albeit a second and a half away from that time of Brody McConkey. Phil Manuel and Bray Loveridge on row 6. Then Wayne Taylor and Gavin Cox. Dean Lacey, Colin Bruns, and then Nicholas Avoyne, Jason Merrifield, John Holton and Craig Bell, your top 20 for this one tonight. A big disparage with some of the times here this evening. Matt Mellor, Scott Watts, and then Scotty Perrins at the back of the field, not able to get a lap together in that session. And then Nathan Allen and Isaac Edwards in race control this evening, giving up their time, and we appreciate that very much here from all of us here at Simple Racing, because without race control we would not be able to go racing the way that we do. But that is how they'll line up for race number 1, Jared, and as we said, it should be that they'll start the next race as they finish. So here, if you make a mistake, it really will set you back for not only this race, but race number 2 as well with no reverse grid.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the other thing to watch here, of course, is the pit strategy for this evening. A limited fuel tank, only 75 litres in the tank is allowed. And based on some of the numbers, that'll get you just shy of 21 laps around here, with 24 laps in each race to make up the 200 Ks this evening. There's going to have to be a pit stop. I don't think anyone's going to have it in them to actually make enough of a fuel save to get home without a pit stop. You're asking them to save essentially half a litre per lap, every lap, on a usage of 3.6 litres at full noise.
Big ask. Green flag is given, the lights have come on, and it is time to go racing. Michael Hammond still in the lane, will not take the start. But the lights are out and we are away for race number 1 here this evening at Circuit of the Americas. Watch them on the run to 1. This is going to be tricky. The first time around, a little bit of a traffic jam if they're not too careful. It's McConkey that converts off the line. Loxton and Gilbert side by side into 1. A number of cars. We've got 3 wide on the exit of 1, but it looks like everybody's sorted it out. We are still pointing in the right direction, which is fantastic news. Gilbert in 3rd from Costa-Texeira. Harry Dodds up to 5th already. Henry King also moving up. Dan Stevens up a position in battling side by side with Bray Loveridge as they try and sort that one out through the shortcut for the first time. The chicane through the shortcut now, but Brody McConkey converted well. 7 tenths clear already. Looking to build a gap. Look for anyone that is trying to abuse these track limits on lap number 1, and this is going by very, very quickly now into 13, but a great start from McConkey. Loxton's trying to go with him though and put the pressure on. He does not want to let him out of his sight. He knows that Brody has been quick in qualifying, but it's he's got to try and not let him get away here. If he can keep the pressure on, he could force him into a mistake. Miguel Costa-Texera staying with, well, trying to stay with them, but Harry Dodds is all over the back of him at the moment and looking to continue to move forward. A great start for him, up 2 spots. Henry King followed him through. Bray Loveridge also up 4. Michael Hammond missing from the grid. He's out there now by the looks of it, but down 17 places.
Yeah, so maybe just a little bit slow in getting into the car. Maybe had to go and fine-tune a few things before we got underway, but in any case, he's out on track now. He's going to have a lot of work to do if he wants to catch up here in race 1, and it's going to impact him pretty heavily into race 2 as well. It's not the best way to start the evening off, but could certainly be worse, I suppose. A pretty comfy little race start, actually, as we see Matthew Deere has gone very, very wide. He's ended up all the way off the track, and it looks like contact with the teammate Henry King, perhaps.
That does not look great, and Henry King's just waiting there to redress that, which, well, Matthew Deere's waiting to, it looks like he's waiting to redress it, but he's got a meatball flag, so something is going on with that car for Deere, and there is big damage. Meanwhile, out in front, it is McConkey and Loxton that are trying to go. You can see this front 3 have sort of formed their own little group. As is usually the case with Loxton and Gilbert, they do form their own little group and try and pull away from everybody else. McConkey today at the spearhead of that. In the background, Manuel and Bray Loveridge battling for position. Loveridge off to a great start, up 4 spots. Phil Manuel also up 2, as is Gavin Cox. Everybody pretty much in the top 10 improving here, besides Aaron Gilbert and Miguel Costa-Texera. That is because Matthew Deere and Henry King and Michael Hammond have all dropped out of the top 10 with those incidents that they were involved in. With Matthew Deere, how long can he push on with this meatball flag? He does not, well, he only gets 3 laps really to come in and serve it, so he's going to have to come in at some stage, and the time that he's losing indicates that he will need to come in the lane. I'm surprised he's pushed on the way that he has.
Well, look, it's one of those things, right? If you can drive the car home, even if it is costing a fair bit of time, it's very rare that towing is ever going to be faster unless you've got fairly significant damage. We know these cars are essentially paper mache in terms of their suspension, so it's going to pick up the meatball fairly quickly, but it's actually not too bad to drive them back on a meatball compared to, for instance, some of your GT3 cars, where once they're meatball, that's it. You are not driving that car again anywhere.
Yeah, and yeah, the Gen 3 supercars are horrendous for the meatballs. They are very easy to cripple. We're watching McConkey though. He's feeling the pressure here from Loxton, who has not let him go. It looked like for a little bit there at the opening stages of this, McConkey was going to try and pull the gap, but Loxton very deep under brakes. He's looking aggressive, letting McConkey know that he is there and keen to make a move as soon as there is any sort of sign of a mistake from the Proline Esports Ford Falcon. And in the background, it looks like there's a couple battles going on towards the back end of the top 10 as well. Looking on our screen at this battle for the lead, though, they have broken away from Costa-Texera and Dodds and formed their own little battle pack. Really, Matthew Deere now in the lane, getting that meatball flag cleared in his pit bay. And what an opening stage to this race. Still a little bit of action, but we're going to get a replay now that might tell the story here for Matthew Deere and exactly what happened. Deep under brakes, flicks it in, got a little bit of a rear lock there and just lost traction and made contact with Henry King. Not quite sure where that meatball flag has actually come from though.
It was just that contact with King. That's all.
No, look there,
right
front. The right front is very, very broken on that car for Matthew Deere. So that's what watch this, and there's the contact, and that immediately snaps the right front axle, and the tyre, when he pulls away, is just continuing to try and turn him to the right. And you can see there, look at that, as he straightens up, it's still pointing the wrong way. He is going to struggle. I'm surprised he got that back. He's actually done very well, considering that car is going to be fighting him the whole way, especially every time he tries to turn left.
Yeah, not ideal. Just a little bit of toe out, I think they call that.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just probably not great for tyre life, I've heard, with the amount of toe out he's got on that car. but nevertheless, that's getting repaired. The meatball flag has been cleared. He's been in there for about 1 minute and 16 seconds now in the bay, so that's a long time to sit stationary. He's going to go laps down in this. The good news is that will reset for race number 2. So he will be at the back of the field for race number 2, but he will get all his laps back and have the chance to try and move forward with the pace that he has shown in qualifying tonight. That car is quick, and hopefully he can utilise that as the evening goes on. We're looking at Wayne Taylor. He's in a nice little battle here, a healthy battle, if you will. Bray Loveridge leading this train. Gavin Cox also a part of it. And then Wayne Taylor and Colin Bruns. And then Alesi and Avoy are actually not too far off the back of this either. So we've got about 5 or 6 cars here that are all within reach of the back end of this top 10. And I feel like that's the trend here a bit at LARC, isn't it? As well as a lot of other leagues these days. There's a nice little battle that forms at the front, but there's also a really exciting battle that just forms at the back end of the top 10 consistently.
Yeah, and maybe it's just that we've started noticing it, so now it stands out every time it happens. I'm sure there's not a battle going on around P10 every race that we cover, but it certainly feels that way lately. I don't know why. It just seems to be where my attention is drawn most often up here in the booth. There's usually something going on around about that point in the pack, and I haven't really found a reason to explain that yet.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? Matthew Deere still in the lane. We're back to this battle for the lead of the race. Nathan Allen saying they have air conditioning inside race control. Jackson, I knew we also have air conditioning here in the commentary booth, and snacks. So we've got air conditioning and snacks. So I don't think your attempts to bribe the Isaac swap is going very well, Nathan, but you can keep trying. Unfortunately, I'm very, very much settled into the commentary box, and I don't think I think the trade is off the table now, unfortunately. What Brett Loxton will be hoping to trade is positions with Brodie McConkey for P1 here. He's trying to put the pressure on. Gilbert staying with them as well, but I don't really know that anyone seems super interested in making the move at this stage, which maybe indicates a little bit of fuel saving from Loxton and Gilbert in P2. I don't know how easy it is to do fuel saving around here. It might be a little bit trickier than we expected, as at least he doesn't get the exit he would have wanted. It's going to open the door for Taylor to go through, move up a spot, and he does. So that was Alesi moving through on Wayne Taylor. So a positional change there. Taylor not quite maximising that exit, but I think Loxton and Gilbert, maybe a couple other cars, as Dodds and Costa Texera have traded places, could be saving fuel. It won't get them all the way to the end here. It'd be a big ask to save enough fuel to make it to the end of this race without stopping. However, it will reduce that time they have to sit stationary, which can be, when it's just half a second between the two of them, it can be a huge difference, and it can make the difference in that undercut if they can pull it off. A lock up there for Bray Loveridge goes a little bit deep, which could open the door for Gavin Cox. He sniffed an opportunity. Not able to make anything happen though into 13, through 14 now. And then the double apex turn 15. And a little bit of a lock up there for Bray Loveridge as well, which it's easy to do in these cars. We've seen that a number of times across the 4 rounds that happened previous to this. These cars, very easy to grab an inside front, especially under braking when you're trying to turn and brake at the same time. And it does like to escort the car very, very wide. I found the Gen 3 cars, it looks a little bit easier to correct when you do have a lockup, but these cars, they are not a fan of a lockup, and they're very unforgiving when you do have one. So it's providing a challenge, and some of these braking zones and the way you have to approach them with you're already turning by the time you hit on the brakes to turning for the corner, it's making it extra challenging for these guys.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I'm interested to see how these pit strategies actually pan out here. I'm watching these drivers. No one's really looking hyper aggressive tonight, are they? And I'm not entirely sure why that is. Maybe it's just the Coda layout. And I must say I haven't actually driven it with these track limits. I'm wondering if it just is a little bit more restrictive than it looks because of the track limits. You know, there's not actually as much of a racing line to play with here. But it is a very spread out field already. I mean, the guys out in front are certainly not going with a fuel safe approach. They've put almost 7 seconds at the moment on Harry Dodds. And I don't think anyone behind them is taking it so easy that they're actually likely to save anywhere near enough. I mean, as we said earlier, they've got to save half a litre per lap every lap to avoid the pit stop. Taking a look at, well, we don't really have any pit data to look at in terms of how long it's going to take anyone to get through the lane. So maybe once we get a view of that later on, when we start to see the first pit stops, that might be a bit more instructive as to whether it's even worth considering trying to do it as a no-stopper. But of course, the second race is the same distance, so if it is possible, that will be the one to look at. G'day, Jason. Welcome on into the chat. Yeah, this is the way to go, isn't it? Proper forward and holding battles, especially at Bathurst. The Gen are great, don't get me wrong, but just something about a proper forward and holding battle up and over the mountain that will always be the preference to anyone who's into supercars. There's no denying that. Absolutely no way.
Absolutely.
I will note that it seems to be Friday night racing, though, that brings out the cheek in race control. Nathan Allen is suggesting that I can't see P10 when I'm on my roof. I absolutely can. I can see P1 through end of the field every time they come past while I sit there, mate.
I think it's very very much the Friday night antics of Nathan Allen in race control, isn't it? He's been in race control for MC Motorsport throughout the week, and when he gets to Friday and he has a little bit of fun with it. Look, it's feel good Fridays. It's Friday. It's all those fun analogies we use to describe Friday and letting your hair down and having a little bit of fun, and that's what we like to do here on a Friday night, isn't it? Have a little bit of fun. But yes, the KRL Bathurst 500, which got announced last night, but these guys are also running a Bathurst 500 coming up in a few weeks' time. I think these guys, looking at the calendar, running theirs on Friday the 2nd of October. So Friday night racing for these guys, 2 drivers, which will be fantastic. We've got a minimum lap count for the co-drivers as well, so puts a little bit of onus on them to shoulder some responsibility behind the wheel of the car. It's going to be fantastic. I believe the KRL race is then that Sunday, so you're getting 2 races. If you're a big fan of these cars and a big fan of Bathurst, you're getting 2 races in one for the weekend, which is fantastic. But the racing that these guys put on here on Simple Racing Broadcast is fantastic. And I saw someone also ask the question of is this real or is it a sim game, because it looks real, and that's because you're watching it in 4K, folks. And if you're not watching in 4K, as I always say, what are you doing with yourself? Go and change your YouTube settings, put it in 4K. It looks fantastic, and that is why you'll watch this, and it looks just as good as the real thing, if not better. KO, you need to up your game, because we're giving this away for free on YouTube. And looking at some of that supercars quality today, there was a little bit of buffering and loading, and I don't think it was my internet connection, because it was working perfectly fine for everything else. But look, it's looking fantastic, and this is a fantastic looking battle between Loveridge, Cox and Bruns for the back end of the 10. These guys have been attached to the hip pretty much all race. Loveridge falling away from Phil Manuel, who's in a bit of no man's land at the moment, but Lacey Taylor have dropped off. Henry King slowly working his way back through the field. He's up to P14 now. Nicholas Avoyne is into the lane and has been in the lane for quite some time, which indicates a fairly hefty amount of damage on that car. Matthew Day's just gone for the move on Miguel Costa-Texeira and got it done, so he moves up to P5, and Costa-Texeira is having a difficult race. He's going backwards, unfortunately, and that's not what he would want to be doing for his championship. So frustrating times in the Proline Esports Holden Commodore, but he's pushing on. This is a replay. You tell the story of this overtake. Matthew Day just a switchback, a little bit of a lock up there, sends Costa-Texeira wide, and Matthew Day says thank you very much, seizes the opportunity and motors on past down the front straight. McConkey's pulling away from Loxon as well at the front of this field, and it's actually creating a bit of a battle between the championship combatants in Loxon and Gilbert for that second spot on the podium. So I think the pressure starting to be applied by Aaron Gilbert has just allowed McConkey to find a little bit of breathing room and a bit of space, which is probably doing him some good, because he is quick, but he's just able to utilise that a little bit more now.
And forgive me, I kind of half heard what you were talking about with the KRL Bathurst 500. Isaac, did you say that's on the Sunday just after these guys run the Bathurst 500?
It is,
wow.
Yes.
So we're basically getting a Bathurst 1000 weekend.
We are.
Across the 2 races. That's not half bad. Jason, if
Not
these
halfway
KRL
wrong.
are looking for some broadcast services for that one, mate, hit us up, simpleracing@gmail.com. Let's have a chat about covering it all in the one place.
I believe they've got a very experienced commentator that does all the KRL stuff, Kid Byers, but I'm sure...
Bring it together with these visuals, why
yeah,
not?
That's right. That's right, and I think it would look absolutely fantastic. Trev does a great job in the commentary, but I think he's... look, I love the man. He is trying to get his head around all this iRacing stuff, and some of these visuals, I have told him before, they look fantastic, and he should get onto you. He has done some work with TrackSpot in the past, which I know there's a big collaboration between Simple Racing and TrackSpot going on, which is
Good
fantastic.
friends of ours,
And
the TrackSpot guys.
good friends of ours, good friends of the Simple Racing broadcast channel. So definitely look out, get in touch, and I'm sure there's something we can work out there to make it happen, just to bring it all together and just put on a great weekend of racing, because these guys, look, it's going to be fantastic on Friday night, isn't it? But it's fantastic again tonight, as always. We are 11 laps in, approaching the halfway point. The question mark over how much fuel you can save, as we said, I don't think it's going to be enough to allow these guys to not stop. The no stop we typically see on a Monday night in the Trans Am series is definitely not on this evening in either of these races. However, it can reduce the pit time just to allow for someone like Brett Loxton, who's sitting about 7/10 behind at the moment, as he dives in. So this will be the opportunity. He's looking for this undercut here and stamping his authority early on this battle, putting the pressure now on McConkey and Gilbert to both lift from here. So if they were doing fuel saving, that fuel saving is now gone out the window. We're at 35.6s now. The fastest lap of the race is the 33.5, so we're 2 seconds away from that. And the pace just needs to dramatically change now. I'm going to keep an eye on how long Loxton stays stationary here, just to really get an understanding of what the pit time is going to look like for these guys and what McConkey and Gilbert need to be aiming for. He's certainly not the only one that's dived in as well, because a number of cars, including Miguel Costa-Texera, Loveridge, Cox, Alesi and Taylor, are all in for their stop. A stationary time of 10.2 seconds for Brett Loxton, so not long at all. And that'll now put, again, as we said, put the pressure on McConkey and Gilbert here to respond. They need to lift, because I would imagine that, I don't quite know what the tyre time changes are here for these Gen 3 supercars. Also, these not Gen 3, these Car of the Future supercars. But there could be a tyre change in there for McConkey, which might actually, for who we're looking at, Brett Loxton, which might actually allow for some faster pace. And if the times you're doing on green tyres, Jared, is a 33.5, and these guys are doing 35.6s, there's 2 seconds a lap you can find if you get that tyre change in.
Yeah, look, I think it'd be crazy not to be swapping the tyres over when you're coming into the pits. We're seeing a fair few of the field coming in on that last lap, and a lot of people just opting to split it in half for at least the opening race, get through effectively 12 laps almost, and come in. Brad McConkey and Aaron Gilbert now coming in to the pit lane as well. 40 seconds end to end. I cannot imagine that you're going to cut half a litre out of every lap and not lose more than 40 seconds over the course of the race. So I just don't think the fuel save approach is on here. I can't see any world in which that's going to work.
No, I do not see the fuel save working at all. How long do these guys stay stationary for? That's what we have to worry about now, though. Alesi pushing on. I'm looking at my track map to see where our friend Brett Loxton is. Oh, a little bit of contact deep, very deep for Scott Watts. Gets sideways. And all correction.
Nudge.
I'm just looking at the timing sheets, though, folks, and look who has come out in front of Brodie McConkey. It is Brett Loxton. Despite the pit stop being 2/10 quicker for Brodie McConkey, he's come out behind. So the undercut has worked for Loxton, and he's got in, well, exactly where he wanted to be, which was command of this race. So he's worked hard for the last few laps to try and get in front. Turns out all he had to do was pull off the undercut.
How did he not come up with that first? Honestly.
That's right. Why
It's
did
never
I think of
quite
this
that
ages
easy.
ago?
Yeah, it's never
No.
quite that easy, though, is it? It's all very dependent on the clean air that you get when you come back out. And I would think that Loxton's probably had a very, very good run coming out of the pits. No traffic in and around him, and he's had nothing but clean air to push through to pull that off. Because you'd usually expect, you wouldn't expect to see the undercut work over the course of just a single lap. It's a pretty significant change.
It is, and look, it's very rare that the undercut works over the course of a single lap in most racing. Sometimes it does at high wear circuits when tyre wear comes into it, but I don't really believe there would have been tyre changes here to necessarily upset that rhythm, as the Loxton goes across the line, does a 33.2, which is much quicker, so that may just have made an absolute liar out of me. We'll have to wait and see. But look, he is quick, and he has proven that time and time again as one of the key players in this championship, and I think he just knew he had to lift that little bit. There's no more fuel saving required as well, so there could have been an element of the guys around him were trying to fuel save to reduce the time they had to stop in the box, and if he's just going out and pushing on in that outlap, then there is going to be a significant difference in time once they do cross over and that pit stop time plays out. Looking at Lacey, he's in 13th. Pretty much everyone has stopped now except for Matt Mellor and Scott Watts. At the back of the field. At the front of the field, though, it's Harry Dodds, Henry King, and Jason Merrifield we're still keeping an eye on. Harry Dodds currently leading the field by 11 seconds. He did a 36.2 on the last lap, which was 3 seconds a lap slower than Brett Loxton. So that tells a major story in terms of the pace that these guys have had once they've come into the lane, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and I think that's, look, even though these cars aren't using the same new tyre model that the Gen 3s are, I think the tyre behaviour is pretty similar in that you really do get the fast opening pace when you get that fresh set of boots on, but it does just start to drop off from there. I think about the only thing we're seeing is that you don't get the same plateau with these tyres compared to the Gen 3 tyre model. Look at this, Brendan McConkey all over the back of Loxton, absolutely following and taking advantage of every bit of the slipstream that he can. That is something you don't see in Gen 3 supercars. They just do not have that aero profile that allows that to really create much in the way of speed difference. And here we go, it's side by side and it's on now. McConkey and Loxton get around turn one and they've gone for it, but McConkey with the faster run gets out in front. Loxton decides a little bit of self-preservation is in order for the moment.
Yeah, just look, not really worth fighting that too hard. Now, this H1's a little bit wide there as well. That could, well, that's definitely going to upset the car and ruin his momentum. He's going to fall away. But McConkey he really wants to get the elbows out. He knows he has the pace in this car. And desperately wanted to be back at the front of the field, and with just slightly fresher tyres, I believe, he said, "Look, I'm just gonna muscle my way past him." But Loxton has said, "Look, you can have it, mate. I'm not gonna fight too hard." He's going to sit in behind, just observe, and look, I don't know if it's ideally where he'd want to be. He'd love to be back at the front of this field, as I'm sure Aaron Gilbert would as well. However, there is potential for McConkey to try and make to make a mistake, and if Loxton can stay with him, he can be a part of the pressure that does invite that mistake into the repertoire of Brodie McConkey if the pressure is on. Just under 10 laps to go, 9 when they cross the line, so there is still plenty of racing left to happen. Keep an eye on Aaron Gilbert as well. Don't count him out of this just yet. This is Loveridge and Bruns for 12th and 13th place. Look at Lacey just behind as well. Wants to get in on the action for his teammate just in front. And look, this is a nice this has been going on for pretty much the whole race, hasn't it? As Jason Merrifield is yet to come in and just being passed by Phil Manuel, actually. So Merrifield finding it really, really difficult. Henry King finally bites the bullet and dives into the lane, and he's going to drop right down the order. Merrifield follows him in, and look, it's going to be hard. Going 16 laps on these tyres, you will see a significant difference in those around you for the rest of the race, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to make any significant inroads back through this field.
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if you see anyone come back from dropping down that far. It just makes too much sense to come in at the halfway point. The race distance here tonight is pretty much bang on to make that the most logical approach. The only difference, of course, would be in the event of a safety car or something like that. But if we're in a green flag for the entire race, then yeah, I don't know there's a great deal of value in staying out that long. You're really just giving up some of the best tyre life that you'll get at the start of the fresh set. And although it might be all well and good to save that for the closing stages of the race and have that bit of extra grip for those final battles, if you're costing yourself time earlier than that, then I just don't know that it's going to be worth it.
I don't think it will be, to be honest. It's if the time loss is greater than the advantage you get as a result, then it's really just not worth it. And I think we're going to see the product of that play out as the rest of this race goes on. Henry King, look, he's not too far behind Wayne Taylor. He could try and move forward. He hasn't actually gone backwards from where he was before these pit stops in 14th place, but you're no better off than you were. And despite being no worse off than you were, I think that's also speaks to the pace that Henry King has in this car at the moment. If you're around drivers of similar pace, it certainly could leave you worse off if you're not careful. Looking at top 10 as they stand at the moment is McConkey. Post-race investigation for car 23 for the pit entry. That is Brodie McConkey. So that puts a question mark over the lead of this race that he currently holds over Brett Loxton and Aaron Gilbert. Miguel Costa-Texeira sits in 4th, and Harry Dodds on debut in 5th, and it's Day, Stevens, Manuel, Cox, Loveridge, and then we were watching the battle between Loveridge, Bruns and Alesi at the back end of the field, and now we're back to this battle for 2nd and 3rd, and if there is a penalty coming the way of Brodie McConkey, potentially the win if he did breach that pit lane entry. This is a replay. This might tell the story of exactly what happened here, and it's just a very late dive in, very, very late dive to almost try and take the racing line of the corner.
Yeah, we'll get another shot of that, because that's a very, very late. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I can see why there's a post-race look at that one. That'll be interesting. I don't really know what race control will make of it, but
I'm surprised the game didn't penalise that. We've seen that before, given as a 30 or a 40-second stop hold. As Dodds, Texeira go side by side. Matthew Day wants to get a part of this as well. On the run towards one. Under brakes. This should go the way of Harry Dodds. He has the inside line. A bit of a lock-up for both of them. Miguel Costa-Texeira went first. They're going to be 3 wide on exit. Costa-Texeira shuts the door on Matthew Day, and in turn that opens the opportunity for Dodds to get a better exit. So Costa-Texeira had to compromise to shut out Day as they get on 2 wheels through the chicane at 3 and 4, now through to 5, and then the littles flick back into 6, and Harry Dodds holds on, and there's a little bit of smoke coming off that car still, I think, from the lockup that he had.
Costa-Texeira slow down through the chicane.
He does, so he's copped a whack there for getting a little bit too greedy, trying to catch back up, and this will open the door for Matthew Day to go through as well into 13. Does he look for the switchback out of the corner? The slowdown's been cleared, so it has hurt him in terms of the progress he was making towards Dodds, but he will stay in front of Day. A massive lock up there for Costa-Texeira, gets the car turned in, but not before Matthew Day invites himself up the inside through the triple right-hander, and this could be a change of position. He's trying to hang around the outside. Costa-Texeira, can he stay there? He's doing his best, trying as much as he can. I think he's actually going to do it. He does hold around the outside through the triple apex, stays on the inside through 19. As they get towards 20, though, it is Matthew Day that will come out on top, and in the end, Miguel Costa-Texeira goes from looking at 4th place to being all the way back in P6.
What an interesting little sequence that was. I am surprised that didn't end a little more in tears than it did. I was expecting out of turn 1 for there to be maybe just some contact that sent them all off track or caused some damage, but they managed to do that so cleanly through there, despite pushing these cars pretty hard as they bounce up and over those curves that are designed to stop people doing exactly that. I'm just thinking, as we saw Costa-Texeira get the slowdown last time, he's cleaned it up there, although very, very loose on the exit. I'm wondering if the reason that McConkey didn't get pinged for that pit entry is perhaps an oversight from iRacing in the different layout, where they've just applied the NASCAR approach to the pit entries and made it basically a free-fall. Look at Miguel Costa-Texeira as he slides it through. We're starting to see the drivers get a little bit more comfortable with this circuit. It's an awkward one. It reminds me a little, and we were talking about this pre-race as well, Isaac. It reminds me just a little of Sonoma when you think about the cambers that you're dealing with here and the slight elevation changes. Obviously not as severe as Sonoma, but they really are built and very, very suited to NASCAR handling dynamics. And the supercars, although similar, are certainly not as adept at that.
Oh, I think I'm back. I've lost
You
internet
are back.
connection. I'm not
You
entirely
are
sure what's
back,
going on
mate.
there.
We didn't lose you. While we're doing that,
My internet got too excited.
an incident
Got way too
from
excited.
lap 12 here. Bro Loveridge was. I think that's interesting. Not the one I was thinking. I've just seen a race control message come through with a 10-second post-race penalty for Bray Loveridge for lap 12, and I'm not seeing anything else on that lap that would suggest that he was involved in anything. So I don't know what that one's for exactly, but obviously something has happened that the stewards didn't like the look of.
Yeah, Stuart's not happy about something. And apologies if I sound a bit funky. I'm working on internet issues that I'm currently having.
Oh, Colin Bruns just saves it.
Resolved very soon. Colin Bruns, there we go. My picture's finally caught up. Gone very, very wide. And as a result, we'll lose a spot there to Dina Lakey. So, fortunate for Bruns. He did well to save it, though. That was a very sketchy moment there. He's done well to catch it and push on. But he will now be in P12. Looking further back forward, Mikel Costa-Texeira is now going to come under pressure from Daniel Stevens. It's not been a great start to the evening for Costa-Texeira, and off the corner comes Dan Stevens alongside, looking fantastically strong now, and will be looking for the opportunity up to one. Deep on the brakes goes Costa-Texeira, shoots off into the distance. I thought he was going to really just carry way too much speed. They are side by side through the apex at one. It could be going the way of Costa-Texeira here. He's learned from his mistake last time, was neater on the brakes, didn't lock anything up, carried enough speed and holds the position. So he learns from his mistakes, holds on, and what he did wrong was to hold that 6.
Costa-Texeira hanging in there just barely at the moment. Daniel Stevens doing everything he can to have another shot at it. He's starting to run out of time. We are getting to the closing laps of this opening 100 Ks, and Daniel Stevens, he's certainly found the gap in Costa-Texeira's armour here, but hasn't quite been able to capitalise. He's going to have another run at it here as he closes the gap. It's within half a second now as they come towards the closing stages of this lap, and Costa-Texeira locks it up, goes very, very deep, very wide. Daniel Stevens tries to make the most of it, can't quite get there that time. Costa-Texeira is starting to cook these tyres. He is absolutely throwing that car into the corners, and it's going to cost him in grip, it's going to cost him in tyre temp. Daniel Stevens just needs to stay consistent here. He can't get too greedy. He's seen what's happened ahead of him. He needs to just keep his eye in and make sure that he's there to take advantage of the next one.
Yeah, he does. He certainly needs to keep an eye on what is going on here for Miguel Costa-Texeira. He doesn't want to create a problem or an incident, but he does need to size up Texeira here. Just see where he's vulnerable. He knows he carries a little bit too much speed into turn one, deep under brakes, shuts the door to Costa-Texeira. And Dan Stevens has to sit in behind a little bit longer. He was trying to show the nose very, very late into one. And Texeira said, "No, thank you, sir," and slammed the door closed before they even thought about getting to the apex of the first corner. He is, look, he's throwing everything at this Dan Stevens. He's had a great start to this race and a brilliant bounce back this evening by sitting in, well, P7, up 3 spots from where he started. Continuing to move forward, Costa-Texeira back 2 spots. If this is a positional change at some point, sideways, big lock up for Costa-Texeira. He gets that car very, very sideways, and I thought for all money that he was going to be gone there. A little bit of a nudge, a helping hand from Stevens says, "Get a move on." I really want to try and catch these guys in front. We are losing time to them, and the laps are running out. Dan Stevens really starting to get a bit impatient. He gets a little bit loose across the rear ends of Costa-Texeira there, who just drives probably off the corner a bit sharper than Stevens was expecting. But it is going the way of Costa-Texeira at the moment. He's got 2 more laps he needs to try and defend this position to hold on to P6.
Question will be, does he have it in the tyres? The amount of punishment that he's given them over the last couple of laps, they've got to be starting to show the temp. Locks it up, just a little puff of smoke there on the way out of the final turn. Gets the power down. Dan Stevens just not close enough at the moment to really make anything of it. But you've got to think there's something about to let go here with Costa Texera. He's asked so much of those tyres, just trying to hold Stevens at bay here. They can't have much left in them. They've only got to survive another couple of laps, so.
Only got to survive a little bit longer. They've done about a 50-50 split in the race. Looking at these two, they came in on lap 11 and lap 12, so Dan Stevens is actually on a lap fresher tyres and is trying to split this race in half. Costa Texera is asking a little bit more of these tyres than he would have in stint number one. Look at the curb usage there from Costa Texera, pushing across the curb, just desperately trying to hold on to this position. Does not want to give it up if he can afford it. But there's a long way to go here in this race. A big task, well, not a long way to go, but it's going to feel like a long way to go, certainly if you're Miguel Costa Texera. Out in front, Brodie McConkey is going to come around the final corner to start the final lap of the race. He is in fine form.
There's the white flag out now. He's just continued to drive away, hasn't he? He's just been pulling away lap after lap after lap, and the gap at 2 seconds, it's probably not as significant as you might expect, but this is one of those circuits where it's really hard to open up a massive gain like at some of the others. Aaron Gilbert and Brett Loxton, though, half the problem has been that these guys have been involved in battling each other, and they've really been very, very focused on each other throughout most of this race, and it's allowed McConkey to just drive his own pace out in front, keep them at bay fairly comfortably, and he's not really looking like he's going to be threatened here. The gap is starting to fall, but it's not going to be enough.
No, it is certainly not going to be enough, and it looks like for McConkey, he's going to be in key position to take the checkered flag in just a few short moments' time. We're looking at this battle. This is Matthew Day and Harry Dodds for P4 and P5, so a nice healthy little battle as well. At the back end of this one, it looks like Dan Stevens might be all said and done with Costa Texera, and that battle could be over with. It's not over yet though, the race, so keep an eye on that time between the two of them in 6th and 7th. At the moment, this is the battle between 4th and 5th, and it is very, very close. McConkey not too far away though from crossing that finish line. He comes towards the final corner, and he looked quick in qualifying. He's converted it in race number one. Can he do it again in race two? But across the line for the first time this season, it's Brodie McConkey that takes the victory in race number one at Circuit of the Americas. Aaron Gilbert comes home in P2 from Loxton in P3. Harry Dodds, is he going to hold on debut for a P4? Matthew Day shows the nose a little bit through 19, but as they come towards 20, he's going to hold on. There's nothing else that Day could do. He's deep on the brakes. There might be a little bit of a touch. He pulls it up just short. And Harry Dodds, take a bow, P4 on debut. Very, very quick indeed for Sideways Esports. And Miguel Costa Texera defended for his life against Dan Stevens to hold on to position number 6 in what was a very testing race for the Proline Esports driver, but a great drive nonetheless. And Bray Loveridge finishes inside the 10, holding on over Colin Bruns, 3/10 between the two of them at the end there. And Henry King jumps back to 13th at the end of that. But Brodie McConkey, what a finish for him. What a race he had. What a night he is having so far, all in all. A brilliant result in qualifying. He's converted that. It looks like for a while there, after that stop, Brett Loxton could have been a factor in this race, but McConkey got the elbows out, got past fairly quickly with an aggressive overtake, and Loxton wasn't going to fight him too hard, and in the end he just disappeared up the road by a couple seconds to take home the victory.
Yeah, and it really... I don't know that McConkey was necessarily super challenged there. He looked so composed all race, didn't he? We didn't see that car step out once that I can recall, even when he was under pressure with Loxton coming out ahead in that pit stop. It was just a brilliant drive.
It was a fantastic drive from McConkey, and it'll be interesting to see if he can do it again in race number 2, but this is the results for race number 1. So 2 seconds clear was McConkey in the end from Aaron Gilbert and Brett Loxton, who finished on the podium. Then it's Harry Dodds on debut in P4, and a great result for him. Matthew Day, Miguel Costa Texera, Daniel Stevens in P7. Then Phil Manuel, Gavin Cox, and Bray Loveridge rounding out 10, and then 3/10 back. Colin Bruns just misses out on that top 10 finish. A brilliant drive from him. Dina Lacey, Henry King back up to 13th after that early incident. And that's, look, he'll be hoping to continue to move forward, but it just shows there is some pace in that Team Jinx Shifters Ford Falcon. Wayne Taylor, P14, then Michael Hammond, Craig Bell, and then he's the last one. The drivers finish on the lead lap. Jason Merrifield a lap down, along with Matt Meller, John Holton, and Scott Watts, panning out the top 20. And then a little bit further down, it was Nicholas Avoyne, 17 laps down, and Matthew Deere also in there, 5 laps down after that massive incident that required him to sit in the pit lane for pretty much, a considerable amount of time. I think he was in there for about 7 minutes in the end. And then Scotty Perrins did not take the start in this one, unfortunately. So no Scott Perrins in this race tonight, unfortunately. He was struggling in qualifying, and I think a couple hardware issues might have taken him out of this one, but hopefully we'll see him back for the next round. But what a result in race number 1, and I'll have a little bit of time now, Jared, to just have a reset. They get a 5-minute warm-up session. For most of those guys, it'll mean a bit of a break and a chance to have a drink, and they'll get going again, stuck into race number 2 very shortly.
Yeah, just a little gap in between. It's not a long time in the car, but it's a lot of work around a circuit like this. Coda's one of those circuits where, even though it's a reasonably quick lap, you're working pretty hard. That long front straight is about the only chance you get to take a breather, and it's probably not long enough for the amount of work you have to do through the rest of the circuit. You're balancing these cars on the throttle so much through basically the entire middle half, maybe middle 3/4 of this circuit, and it does take a lot out of you in these cars. So good to see. We had a pretty clean opening race there. I was surprised, honestly. I was genuinely surprised that it was as clean as that. I was expecting things to be a little bit more chaotic, but race 2 still lies ahead. And look, if you are sitting on the couch at home watching this, or indeed lying down somewhere and watching it on your phone, whatever the case may be, now is the time to go and refill your drinks if that's what you need to do. We've got just a couple of minutes to go until we do get into the second race. We will be right back.
Welcome back. We have had a very short break there, and if you're watching that and it does sound like you and you want to jump in the commentary box, you think you've got the skills, or you just want to develop the skills, learn what it's all about, then make sure you get in touch with us at Simple Racing Broadcasts over at Gmail to just let us know you are keen, and we're more than happy to have a chat to you. We're always on the lookout for new, fresh talent. We've been bringing a few new faces into the commentary box over the last week or so, and some faces I think are definitely that are going to stick around for a little while. They've got some skills, that is for sure. So if it sounds like you, make sure you head over and shoot us an email, simpleracingBroadcast@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to have a chat to you. Now, we are not too far away from gridding up for race number 2, another 24-lap race. And look, Brodie McConkey, he is looking very, very quick this evening. Massive amounts of pace in qualifying, huge amounts of pace in the race as well. Converted that pole to a fairly comfortable victory. And Aaron Gilbert, Brett Loxton, the question will be in race number 2, what sort of response do they have for this guy?
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine that there's going to be a whole lot of anything that they can do after such a strong opening race. He really didn't look troubled at all, and you know, it seems unlikely, barring a poor, opening lap or a poor launch off the line, that there's going to be much they can do to stop him from staying out in front for this one. That said, it's another 100 Ks. Anything can happen. There's still plenty of time for a safety car to perhaps just play a little bit of havoc with the pit plans. We'll have to wait and see as we get ready to go for race number 2. The grid just about ready for us. And as always, a massive thank you to the sponsors for Legacy Australian Racing Championship, to Jinx Shifters and to Press Tools. Really do appreciate the support. It's what helps us make this happen every 3 or 4 weeks or so.
Yeah, huge thanks to the sponsors. They, as you said, make this happen. And this is how they line up. They line up as they finish. So we'll run through it fairly quickly. McConkey and Gilbert sharing the front row from Loxton and Dodds on row 2. Then it's Matthew Day and Costa Texera, Dan Stevens and Phil Manuel. Then Gavin Cox and Bray Loveridge on row number 5, rounding out the top 10. And then the rest as they finished in race number 1. Colin Bruns, Alesi, Henry King has a lot of work to do from P13. Michael Hammond as well there in 15th. He's got pace in these cars, and look out for him. John Holton, Scott Watts at the back of the field, and then a couple drivers below them to note as well. Matthew Deere has pace in that car. He did in race number 1 before that incident, so a bit of work to do for him to try and move forward. Not sure if we'll see Nicholas Avoyne or Scott Perrins in this one. But Matthew Deere, certainly, and Henry King, 2 names to keep a very close eye on in this race to try and continue to move forward. Michael Hammond also had to start from pit lane in race number 1, and as a result, had it all to do in that first race as well. So he's in 15th. So big names outside the 10 that could try and factor themselves into the 10. At the front of the grid, though, McConkey, Gilbert, and Loxton should be picking it up where they left off for the battle for this win. Harry Dodds as well, looking very quick on debut.
Yeah, Dodds certainly straight into it here tonight, and it bodes well, right? He's got a decent bit of pace out there already in the Ford, and this is the thing about these older supercars. There are still a lot of guys out there who put in hundreds and thousands of laps in these things when they were the latest supercar that was on iRacing. So I reckon there's still some talent hiding out there somewhere. We've already seen Benny jumping into the chat asking how he can sign up for this series, because he's been looking at driving these supercars specifically, not the new Gen 3s, which, yeah, admittedly is pretty much what's out there for most of the leagues that are running a supercar series, and that's why LARC is such a good option if you want to drive some proper Ford versus Holden battles. There's not that many places to go.
No, and it's fantastic that these guys do this series, and it's such a great series as well. They've got an awesome calendar that we are far from over completing. We are in America, obviously, at the moment at COTA. Then we head to the Bend in a few weeks' time for the West layout over there. Then it's Bathurst for that Bathurst 500 we were talking about. And then it's back to Detroit for Belle Isle, which will be fantastic in these cars as well. And then finishing the season at Sandown and Adelaide. 2 125k races at Adelaide should be absolutely fantastic. But we have one more race at Circuit of the Americas before we sign off for round number 5. 24 laps ahead of our drivers. The slow zoom in there from our cameraman as he gets towards the back of the field. We are waiting starters' orders. The leaderboard comes up. The green flag is shown and the lights will come up for the final race of the evening. 24 laps ahead of our drivers. Who will come out on top? It is green flag, and away we go for the final time at Circuit of the Americas, and it's a great start once again for Brodie McConkey. Look for Dodds on the outside. He got a fantastic launch off the line. He could go for it into one, but backs out of it. It is going to be McConkey from Gilbert, Loxton and Dodds side by side. They're 3 wide in the background of the pack as well. It's all happening. Dodds and Loxton are getting the elbows out with each other now. It's going to be Loxton that comes out on top of this one. Costa Texera, Phil Manuel up 3 spots into 5th off the start. What a launch from him to move up. We've got a couple cars off in the background as well. That looks like Bray Loveridge that's had issues. He's off the road down in 21st. Matt Mellor's caught up in that. Gina Lacey also a part of that. But at the front of the field, it's a fairly clean start. Down the inside, elbows out as I say that. Contact side by side between Dodds and Loxton. Dodds looking like he just locked the inside front. He does the same thing again through 13. And Brett Loxton, look, these cars, look, they're tough, but they're not that tough. So they'll certainly be feeling the effects of that.
Yeah, lucky not to end up with a meatball flag there. It doesn't take much of a nudge at just the right spot to send you into the pits. Harry Dodd's obviously very, very keen to be in amongst it. They're side by side behind as well. Henry King and Michael Hammond. Neither of these drivers willing to give even an inch on the way through there. Plenty of racing room for sure, but no one wanting to back out and dropping behind just yet. They get it sorted now as we come to the end of the first lap. But geez, what an opening from Harry Dodds. He is definitely out there with something to prove.
He is certainly keen to get the elbows out in this one for Sideways Esport, and that he has been doing. Henry King up to 12th already, deep under brakes. There's contact between Gilbert and McCulkey. That's for the lead of the race. Everyone's spearing off to try and avoid the incident. Loxton goes through, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. He'll pick up the pieces and goes right on through. And McCulkey and Gilbert, it's sort of worked out that they don't lose position to each other, so Gilbert sort of redressed that after the contact, got it all wrong into the braking zone at 1. McCulkey turning into the corner, and all of a sudden here's a Ford Falcon, and then it's just a nice move there from Loxton to drive underneath the two of them and run off into the distance.
And almost unbelievably, the biggest loss from the incident, the collision between McCulkey and Gilbert, was actually Harry Dodds. He did everything he could to avoid that, but ended up off the outside of turn 1. We'll go back and have a look at it. Keep your eye on Dodds here. He sees it unfolding in front of him. Heavy under brakes, has to take evasive action, and look at how wide he has to go. Tries to get back in there, but by this stage, Phil Manuel's already gone through.
That's frustrating, because Phil Manuel also sniffed a little bit of blood. Brett Loxton's done the Stephen Bradbury and just driven past everybody to go into the lead of the race and picked up the pieces of the chaos. Miguel Costa-Texera now sniffing at the back of Harry Dodds, who's still having problems with those brakes. He's locking that inside front pretty much all over the shop at the moment as he tries to get that car pulled up, and he'll just be a little bit frustrated, I'm sure, with losing that spot to Manuel while taking evasive action. Look how deep under brakes! That is Matthew Day. There's a bit of contact front to rear with Costa-Texera, but it doesn't end in a major amount of tears. Dan Stevens is going to go through, though, as Day will drop a spot. Could drop another spot to Colin Bruns, who's keen to get past as well. And turn 1's becoming a bit of a battleground at the moment as everybody's getting the elbows out, carrying the brake a little bit too much, and just seems to be the place to go if you want a little bit of, a bit of elbow action at the moment at turn 1. That's where it's all unfolding.
Not surprising though, that turn 1 is the quintessential overtake for a supercar, as we see Henry King now go up the inside, a little bit of a nudge there into the door of Gavin Cox. No real damage done, but he's going to have another shot at dives very, very late underneath and just pulls it up as Cox comes across to hit the apex. King is pushing very, very hard. He doesn't like being this far back in the field. It feels like he's got a lot more pace to offer. He just has to get through cleanly, and we're seeing that really be a much more difficult task here at COTA than a lot of people probably expected.
Yeah, and I think, everyone was hoping, as Alessi goes up the inside of Craig Bell, and look for Jason Merrifield as Bell goes very, very wide in the background. I think everybody was expecting it just to be a little bit like that. It's a fast-flowing circuit, lots of turning time around here, lots of heavy braking zones as well. So big opportunities to try and make something happen in a braking zone and drive underneath another car with the switchbacks you see across the various circuits around here, but just not quite able to make that happen this evening. But one reason or another, these cars proving difficult to pull up, and the moves haven't been there as much as I think, as you said, drivers were expecting that they would be. This is Dan Stevens defending from Day, who again has some work to do. He lost that spot to Stevens after the contact with Costa-Texera. So Matt Day a little bit more cautious on the brakes this time around, trying to avoid any front to rear contact and picking up a penalty from race control. See in the background there, Colin Bruns also keen to be a part of this. Brett Loxton, he's looking quick. He was only slightly slower than Brodie McCulkey on the previous lap. Sideways, Henry King, massive slide. Everyone did well to avoid him, and he did well to avoid everybody. Gavin Cox is going to go through though, and back into 12th place is Henry King with all that hard work to do once again. He's done well to catch that and to limit the damage though. That was a huge slide.
Yeah, big moment, and just completely misjudged his braking marker there. He's really trying very, very hard to get past Cox, but he's just getting a little bit too aggressive, and it's costing him more time than it's gaining each and every time around. Daniel Stevens still under attack from Matthew Day as well. Let's go back and get another look at that from Henry King and see if we can get a better view of just how deep he went here. Watch for where he does actually lock it up. Look at how much later he was on the brakes there and just had no hope of pulling it up. A brilliant job from Cox to avoid him there and to not collide. That was really, really well anticipated.
A bit of drifting there from Henry King as well. It looks quite nice. And if he wasn't racing other cars around him, he might actually get some style points from the judges for that little drift he's done. Matthew Deere looks to the inside of Craig Bell. The room afforded between the two of them, and I think that's going to be a fairly textbook overtake as it is for Matthew Deere, who is trying to move forward. And this one, he's up 5 spots already, found his way past Craig Bell just then. Scott Watts is also up 2, but Gray Loveridge down 9 from where he started. Nicholas Avoyne is now in the pit lane and heading out onto the circuit, so a number of laps down, but going to get out there and get classified, hopefully, and get some points, which is good to see as he rolls on a little bit and will enter out onto the circuit. Matthew Day, though, look, he's putting the pressure on Dan Stevens at the moment, isn't he? But what that's doing is inviting Colin Bruns, Michael Hammond into this. Gavin Cox also keen to get his 2 cents heard as well as a part of this battle. But Day, he's just got to be careful under the brakes. He can get this done, but it's all about patience. And we've spoken about that being a key factor in these supercars on a number of occasions. Off the road goes, that is Matthew Deere, as I was talking him up for how well he's moving through this field. And look at the nose of that car is punched right in.
He's carrying a meatball.
He's hit possibly the wall. He is carrying a meatball. So something is very, very broken on that car. And I would say by the look of that front end, it's the radiator. Dan Stevens and Matthew Day diving into the lane on lap 6. That's early to come in. So do they know something we don't? I don't see any movement from race control. So no one's certainly stopped out there at the moment. This will tell the story, though, of what's happened to Matthew Deere. Has he done this all on his own? He absolutely has. Used a little bit too much curb, and whack. He's just punched a nice little hole on the radiator.
Yeah, it does not take a lot at all in these cars, and straight into the wall like that, it's going to get you just about every time. It doesn't look like a lot of damage, but certainly plenty done to that front end. The nose very, very pushed in. John Holton as well actually has picked up a meatball just as we were looking at that. I can't see where it's happened though. That's the interesting part.
It's always a challenge, isn't it, when you can't tell where the meatballs come from? That means he's done something obviously very, very subtle, I would imagine, or hasn't lost too much speed in the process of achieving this meatball. And look, in these supercars, that doesn't surprise me. A little bit of a contact with the wall can pluck the corners out of these things. This might tell us it's already crab walking by that point, so it's
horribly, isn't it?
It is.
He's belted a wall.
It is
somewhere.
already broken. He has absolutely whacked a wall. And it is not happy. That is a very big crap walk, and you can see the punctured front end of Matthew Deere, in the background, walking into the pit lane. Not as crab walky, but John Holton, he's got a fair amount of damage on that car as these guys now sit and wait. No fast repairs this evening to make it a bit easier for these guys. They have to wait for the car to be repaired in terms of how long the game says it will take for that damage to be repaired. Spun it all on his own. Michael Hammond drops it. He gasses it up out of the corner, and it just lets go as he puts the throttle down. And unfortunately, that means he's going to lose a number of positions. One of those is to Henry King. So Cox, Bruns, and King all going through and gaining places off him.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a slightly more aggressive approach here in this second race for a lot of drivers. They feel like they've kind of found the flow of this circuit. Now they're trying to push on just a little bit harder, and it's not necessarily turning out the way they'd want in some cases. McConkey and Gilbert here. This is interesting. Loxton seems pretty comfy out in front at the moment, and McConkey just not quite having the answer. I wonder if McConkey might be carrying maybe just a little bit of damage from the contact with Gilbert into that first turn. It doesn't need to be much for it to be having a fair bit of impact on his ability to actually keep the pace up mid-corner. But as it stands right now, Loxton's no slouch for sure, but he's doing it very, very comfortably, and that suggests to me that there's something else going on with McConkey's car.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one, isn't it? On the last lap, they were pretty much on pace pretty much on par. The lap before that, McConkey was 0.3 quicker. So there seems to be a little bit of disparity in terms of what we're seeing in terms of the gap and the lap times that are represented from these two. So it's certainly interesting to look at. This is what happened to John Holton. Does he just do it all on his own?
I'm wondering if this is where it's happened. There's a bit of battling here with Scott Watts. There's a bit of a slide.
A helping hand and
that rear end hit was huge. Look at the rear left.
It was huge. And it's immediately broken the immediately broken the rear diff, and that's why that car is crab walking.
Tell you what, he's not at all unlucky though. He's done it right before the pit entry.
Yeah, it's timed it perfectly. Let's be honest. You cannot get more on time than that. Scott Watts also into the lane now for his pit stop. We're looking at Henry King, who continues to try and move forward in this one. He's up 4 spots, putting the pressure on Gavin Cox now for P8. And so Gavin Cox from Middle Finger Racing and Henry King for Team Jinx Shifters. So a couple of, it's all the same manufacturer, but a couple of different teams battling out for position. Craig Bell also trying to keep up with Jason Merrifield here for P14. Everyone's just,
I'm actually not so sure.
Just starting to spread out.
Yeah, now Craig Bell, this is an interesting one. I've noticed him just dropping back spot after spot. So far, he is up 2 from where he started, but keep in mind that that's probably helped along by a few of the early pit stops we've seen. I'm not sure if he's off pace. I didn't actually really take much notice of his lap pace in race number 1. But the thing I find really interesting is that I've seen him very obviously getting out of the way of a few other cars as they come through. He's not contesting the corners, he's not defending them, he's not attacking them hard when there's a car coming through a bit quicker behind. I am going to hazard a guess that Craig Bell reckons he can take a no-stopper here. I think he might be trying it on. Now, I don't know how much it's going to play out for him, but
looking at his lap times, look, he is slow, and there is going to have to come to be a time here for Craig Bell where he lifts a bit towards the end once he has saved enough fuel to bring those lap times back down, because at the moment it's probably a situation of if you stay out and don't pit and you keep with these lap times, you're going to be no worse off where you are now, or no better off, I should say, where you are now to where you'll finish on the no-stop strategy. So he really needs to know that this is 100% going to work, and 2, be able to lift those lap times when he needs to defend the positions that he will gain from this no-stop strategy he is looking at. But if he can do it, it's very bold. Up the inside goes Gavin Cox on Colin Bruns. He's going to stay there around the outside. Henry King in the background has actually dived into the lane to try and get a bit of an undercut on this battle that is happening in front. They're going to go side by side though, down the front straight on the run towards 1. Pretty much no way to separate them as they run into 1. Deep under brakes goes Gavin Cox and gets the inside line and just hugs the apex, and as a result that gifts him the position. Colin Bruns went very wide, looked to try and maybe maximise the exit speed, but the inside line that Gavin Cox held was just the much faster line in the end.
Yeah, I don't think there was ever going to be a whole lot that Bruns could do there to defend it.
Craig Bell's dived in.
Yeah, okay.
So Craig Bell's into the lane.
Right, well that answers the question. I was just looking at his lap times and thinking to myself, he's probably 3 seconds, on average, about 3.5 seconds a lap off the pace of the leaders. So if that is what it takes to get that fuel save done, over the course of 24 laps, you're looking at least a minute of time lost. With a 40-second pit stop, it just doesn't make any sense at all to be going for that.
No, it seems to be an interesting strategy.
I don't think anyone's going to go for it here. It just doesn't.
It's not going to pay off, I don't believe. Realistically, if you're pulling the no-stop off, you're going to have to be inside that top 10, and even then, there's only going to be a 20-second gap between you and the guy in first place by the time those pit stops play out. And with the tyre changes that are happening to allow for that faster lap speed, they're going to make that back in no time, and as I said, you'll be no better off, potentially even worse off from where you were. At the front of the field, Loxton has been reeled in slowly by McConkey, who's lifted in the last couple of laps, 5/10 quicker on the previous lap. And now through the S's at the start of the lap, down towards the shortcut. That's 6. The little chicane just here, and then onto the back straight for the run towards 12. He is putting the pressure on. Which one of these two thinks about pitting first? McConkey saw that Loxton went for the undercut in race number 1 from second, and it paid off. He got out in front. Does McConkey think about doing the same thing here. Just doing a Brett Loxton to Brett Loxton and diving into the pits, going for that undercut and just trying to get out in front of Loxton by the time the pit stops play out. It certainly could be the strategy to do. We've seen it work on a number of occasions already this evening, so I would expect that McConkey would be interested in pulling that off, and this was around the time in race number 1 that they dived in to complete that pit stop.
Yeah, it'd be almost poetic, wouldn't it, to see McConkey just reverse the situation and come in and look at this. He's going for it too. That's a much
nicer line to the pits.
I don't know if much is actually the word I'd attach to it. It was definitely a nicer line. It's very, very late, but he did get across before the solid line at least. So
he did.
Yeah, and Nathan Allen missing no opportunity to twist the knife there. Thank you, mate.
It's quite an item race control, obviously. Not what's happening, it seems.
Yeah, and it has been. It has been. It makes me wonder why we even have Nathan Allen on race control. Honestly,
we don't need him. Go home, Nathan. It's all good, mate. We've got this. If something happens,
crack a beer. It's fine.
If something happens, we'll just roll on it from the commentary box. Honestly, like how hard could it be? Let's be honest. To just sit here. We've got all the replays. We've got all the camera angles. We can have a look at it and unpack what's happened, I'm sure. So just crack a beer, mate. Take it easy. Put your feet up. He probably already is with the way these races have gone. But I think that also just speaks to, look, there's still plenty of cars out there. 21 cars currently on circuit. Matthew Deere in the lane, and he's been in there for about 9 minutes. I don't suspect we'll see him again this evening. But it speaks to the skill that these drivers have, that we're at a circuit like this, especially at Turn 1. There has been a couple incidents, all of which have been redressed, and race control has noted only a couple things across the evening. It's the way these guys are driving these cars is just super clean. I don't want to jinx it as I watch these two get very, very close to each other, Colin Bruns and Michael Hammonds. But they are driving spectacular, and it's actually making Nathan Allen's job and race control's job very, very easy, because there's nothing really to report. There's great racing. Aaron Gilbert is in the lane and going for the undercut on Brett Loxton as well. And yeah, look, there's nothing to report for these guys, because they're providing fantastic racing, and it's brilliant. I don't know. It's just good, hard racing. We're enjoying it watching. He's asking if I'm going to be joining him for race control at MC, and I'm also in the commentary box for that one too. So I don't think I'll be stepping into the race control booth anytime soon, which is probably for everybody's safety.
But hang on, Isaac, you just said it was so easy you could do it from the booth, mate. I think Nathan should hold you to that. Look at this, a bit of a mistake from Bruns. Opens the door for Hammond. Notice I'm not going to give you an opportunity to respond to that, because Michael Hammond has taken centre stage through the final turn, picks up.
I told you it's easy.
I know Palmer's out there somewhere. He'll be listening in, I'm sure. Phil Manuel making some nice progress off his pit stop. He's still up 1 from where he started. Jason Merrifield just ahead is up 11, although still has to come in to the pits. Loxton, Dodds and Costa Texera out in front, yet to make their stops, and you'd expect to see them coming in sometime soon, surely. It'll be a question of whether McConkey comes out ahead of Loxton after that stop, and I reckon there's a good chance that Loxton's going to continue the push here and run this fuel all the way down to minimise his stop time. Well,
he's immediately discredited what you said.
He's heard me and said, nope.
He's listening.
We cannot let Jared be right here. Look at the background. Jason Merrifield sliding that Falcon through as he looks in the rear view and sees 3 or 4 cars lining up to have a crack at him.
Merrifield he needs to come into the lane soon, I think. Not necessarily because he's holding up people, but he just needs to dive in, doesn't he? This is McConkey. This is going to tell the story. Loxton is rolling out, but only just now, and I think McConkey's going to go well past by the time they get to pit exit, and McConkey is up the straight and into the distance, and the undercut has paid off. I'm surprised Loxton stayed out for that extra lap. Gilbert almost could get Loxton here as well. Big lock up into one. In the foreground, that is one of the Bram Repco racing cars. That's Scott Watts that's just being lapped. He gets out of the way. Then Ford Henry King has come into the lane for his stop and is up to P8 now. There's only one car, Miguel Costa Texera, that's left to pit, so Henry King 8th, maybe 7th on correction here. That's a great result for him to be continuing to move up the field. And, well, Nathan Allen asking if we can swap the Isaacs at MC Motorsport for one night.
and Isaac very keen to be out of the booth, out of the race control room, obviously, as well.
Maybe the air conditioner. I don't think maybe the air conditioner's not working anymore. That's why he wants out.
I've heard about. Yeah, you know what? I'll be kind. It's Friday night. I can't be too cruel.
Up the inside, Gavin Cox. Meanwhile, he does a fantastic job, and there's still racing happening on circuit. Gavin Cox, a nice overtake there on Colin Bruns at the inside of 12. And Bruns, I think, left him a little bit of room. There's great respect between these two so far this evening. Miguel Costa-Texeira in the lane for his stop, and this will start to tick off the remainder. That'll leave only Jason Merrifield out there in P9 that is yet to stop in this race. Dodds is down in 10th place now, so he has unfortunately continued to go backwards in this race, which is frustrating from that early promise that he showed. And another lock-up there. I think he is doing that quite a lot, Dodds, and I think he might be struggling ever so slightly to get to grips with the tyres and the tyre model on this car, because he's finding himself locking the inside front under brakes quite a lot, which again we said is very easy to do around here. Henry King is going to jump Miguel Costa-Texeira, as is Harry Dodds. Michael Hammond also moving into the 10 and jumping Miguel Costa-Texeira. Gavin Cox goes past as well, so Miguel Costa-Texeira stayed out for probably what would have been far too long, because now he's in P12 and a lot of work to do to get back into the 10 and back to where he was, which was in a battle with these guys.
Henry King continuing to just try and push here. Matthew Day putting the pressure on Daniel Stevens. This little trio, one of only a couple of fairly close battles going on at the moment. Here goes Dodds. He picks up another spot as he gets past Merrifield. And I think it'll probably be a case of the floodgates opening here. Merrifield gives up another spot to Michael Hammond, and watch for Gavin Cox in the background, who is closing rapidly. Miguel Costa-Texeira is there as well. So Merrifield yet to come in for his stop is finding himself caught up in a bunch of quicker cars, and it will be really getting close to the time where he wants to think about coming in for his stop, and that would complete pretty well everyone on circuit. Yeah, it will complete everybody on circuit making their stops once Merrifield comes in. So we are looking at what is pretty well the correct race order. Bit of a bounce there from Matthew Day, cost him some speed. This is going to open the door for Henry King down the straight. And I'd have to think that King's got it. He's going to hold right alongside Matthew Day. I don't think Day's going to be able to do anything about this. Henry King just needs to be on the brakes just a little bit later, and Matthew Day just goes very wide. Yeah,
he's afforded a lot of room. Didn't want to have any incidents in turn one like he has already this evening. So afforded him a lot of room there.
No, and I kind of wonder if he got thrown a little bit just by the proximity of King as they got to the braking zone. Big lock up there from Costa-Texeira through the chicane as well. That's going to bring Cox right back into it. And Costa-Texeira just struggling a little bit here at Coda.
Yeah, and it's been difficult tonight for Costa-Texeira. He's gone backwards in both races. He looked okay in qualifying. The pace wasn't too bad, but in race pace, in race trim, just hasn't been able to hold on to the tyres, I would suggest, the way that he liked. That would probably tell the story of why he's dropping off, just not looking after the tyres as much as those around him. And it is a bit of a story here at Coda across a multitude of categories. Locks the inside front once again. There's smoke from the car in front. Michael Hammond as well. There's lockups left, right and centre, and again another day that I'm sure drivers are very, very glad there's no flat spot model on iRacing, because otherwise these tyres would be looking very hexagonal at the moment with the way all these lockups are going. But yeah, I just think that it's super difficult, this track on tyres. A lot of turning time, a lot of left, right, turning, change of direction, and as a result you do ask a lot of the tyres, and if you use it up too early, just trying to push and have a lot of pace. We'll see Henry King in the foreground going for a move, and it looks like Dan Stevens was trying to run him across the track a little bit. That is just the way the road goes, but as a result Henry King does get the inside line. Is the move, well, the move is complete, and he's up into P5, and a brilliant drive back through the field for Henry King continues. and he's up into 5th. The next person up the road is 7 seconds ahead of him, and that is Phil Manuel. So a big ask from here, really, try and catch Phil Manuel, considering they're doing fairly similar lap times at the moment. Brett Loxton's just done the fastest lap of the race, though, folks. 6 tenths quicker than Brody McConkey. So it is starting to heat up at the front of the field if Loxton can continue the way this is going with the pace in that car. Wide goes Daniel Stevens. This will open the door for Matthew Day to have a look. And look for Harry Dodds in the background. There might be a little bit of contact between the three of them. A little bit of pushing and shoving the elbows around. Here comes Dodds to go past both of them the long way around. Was the inside, turns to the outside at 15. They're going to be side by side. Another lock up. There'll be 3 wide on the exit. Here is Harry Dodds round the outside to the inside of the Triple Apex right-hander. Can he hold on the position? We've seen a number of drivers hanging around the outside at 17, 18 tonight. He can't do it this time. Dodds will hold the position, and another lock-up, which will just invite, well, it doesn't invite anyone to go past him, but it does actually check Dan Stevens up, which opens the door for Day. So Day's now going to go down the inside of Stevens, and look at Michael Hammond in the background. Scott Watts going slowly to get out of the way. Dan Stevens holds on. Michael Hammond is now going to find a way past Day. Miguel Costa-Texeira watching this all happening, going, fellas, what is going on here? There is certainly so many overtakes. Another lock up in the foreground from Harry Dodds as they run into turn 1, but it is, in the end, Harry Dodds in 6th. Now Dan Stevens sits in 7th. Michael Hammond and Matthew Day, actually the biggest loser out of this, drops back to 9th.
Such a feature of these cars, hasn't it been? The lockups are absolutely everywhere. There's a lot of smoke off tyres, and it does have the impact, but it just doesn't seem to actually indicate as much of an issue as it would in certain other categories. They just seem to be really, really fond of locking an inside wheel when you do unload them through a corner. Miguel Costa-Texeira is going to try and look around the outside here, and he's almost going to try and replicate what Harry Dodds did on the last lap, and I think he's going to get there. He's back to the inside, and in the end makes it look very, very easy, although again just locks a wheel as he carries a little bit of weight off it, and away they go. Meanwhile, while this has all been happening here in front, Loxton has been putting in banker lap after banker lap, and look at this, he's going for the move up the inside of turn 1, locks it up, and big slide, contact again. McConkey, for the second time, is dealing with getting it absolutely barged into. Loxton gets rolling again. Aaron Gilbert says, thanks for bringing me back into it. But, geez, what a mess turn 1 is turning out to be.
As I said, the elbows are well and truly coming out in... and look at them. I think there is a little bit of damage on that car for Loxton. He was struggling through the S's there. Maybe that's just the heat that is now in the tyres as a result of that massive slide. But turn 1, as we knew it would be, is a... Yeah, turn 1, as we knew it would be, is a magnet for incidents this evening and just contact. This is brave from Hammond. He's going to go down the inside of Stevens and the S's. This could end in tears. They're side by side. There's a little bit of touch up between the two of them. They're still side by side. More touching. Pushes him out of the way. Costa-Texeira is going to go through. Here's Matthew Day to be a part of it as well on Dan Stevens. And I think he holds on at the moment as they run through the shortcut. But that was very, very much elbows out racing. We are at the pointy end of this race. Down the inside, deep under brakes goes Matthew Day, pulls the car up. A lock-up from Gavin Cox in the background just to try and avoid rear-ending his teammate. He certainly doesn't want to do that. That'll be an interesting race debrief for sure. But unfortunately, Dan Stevens will move backwards another spot. Matthew Day moves forward, well, stays in 9th really after Miguel Costa-Texeira got through on both of them. And it is all happening. Looking at the front 3 as well, they are slowly starting to converge on each other once again. It is 6 tenths between each of them at the moment. Loxton, he'll want to get this done, but he'll have to get it done cleanly if he wants to hold on to it. Otherwise, Race Control will say, no, thank you, sir. Simple Racing replay. It's going to show the story of exactly what happened here. Just cranked it sideways on the turn in, hadn't pulled it up enough. Contact between the two of them. Luckily, there was enough time and a big enough gap between them and Aaron Gilbert for them both to get rolling again with no one losing any positions.
I'm actually really surprised that didn't end in more damage. It was the slightest of nudges, and ultimately I suppose that the tyres being so loaded up, it didn't take much to get them sideways. But yeah, McConkey and Loxton both now just really significantly off pace on that last lap. It'll be interesting to see what lap times look here, because Aaron Gilbert is circling at the moment. He's really close that gap up, and he's going to be in amongst it in no time at all. I think McConkey and Loxton are going to have a real battle on their hands to stay in the top 2 at this stage. Gilbert is poised to really have a crack at this. The 3 of them, though, 16 seconds clear of Phil Manuel. It's been another league tonight here at Coda.
Well, if there's any time to have a battle, they've certainly got the time in hand to do so now. So Harry Dodds is also putting the pressure on, actually goes up the inside of Henry King. Actually going to go around the long way when they get to the triple right-hander, and I think Henry King just sort of let him go there, not fighting that one too hard, and that's probably a smart call through that section of racetrack. A big lock up there from Henry, and that actually opened the door for Harry to go through. And as a result, I think before they even got to the triple right-hander, he just sort of backed out a little bit, and that's smart. So this is Dan Stevens looking up the inside of Matthew Day, trying to get this spot back for P9. Gavin Cox would love a top 10 finish, but doesn't want to take his teammate out. So we'll maybe just try and wait for whatever is happening there to play out. This is the battle for the lead of the race, though. McConkey and Loxton pretty much back to where they were a couple of laps ago before that contact. Less than half a second between them. Loxton has really lifted in this second race. He's found something extra that he didn't have in race 1, enough to keep up with McConkey. They ditched him. We ditched them by about 2 seconds in race number 1, but hasn't been able to do the same, and that probably also is indicated by the fact there's a bit of damage on that car from the early contact with Gilbert. And now all 3 are on about level playing field in terms of how much damage is on the car. So that's interesting to note. This is still going. This is pretty much, well, it's Stevens, Cox, Bruns and a Lacey, and they're all middle finger racing. So this is a nice little inter-team battle that's happening between these 4 cars, all from middle finger racing. So try not to take each other out, boys, but I'm sure as we get towards the back end of this race, team orders go out the window, and it's as long as you don't kill each other and take each other out and ruin your races, I'm sure they won't mind you getting your elbows out, having a bit of fun with it and putting in some good hard racing. It's lap 22, our leaders have just started, so we've got 3 laps to go at the end of this one, or 2 laps to go at the end of this one, 3 laps to go including this one, Jared. And the battle for the lead well and truly alive, but there's a number of battles up and down this field.
Yeah, and I keep coming back to this group here. It's been, a fantastic back and forth battle between some of the same names across probably about the last 10 laps, I'd say. It only just occurred to me to look at where exactly they are on track and what they're battling for in terms of position, and wouldn't you know it, it's right around P10 again. I don't know what iRacing is doing here, whether there's some sort of magic in the back end that makes this happen, but it just happens way too often for this to be a coincidence, surely.
Something's got to be at play here. I think someone's, iRacing's doing something, I would imagine. There's a bit of a magnet attached to, it's probably like a piece of code that says if car in P10, magnet to car in P11, just to make it exciting, but it provides good racing for us. Speaking of good racing, McConkey, Loxton, this is through the final couple of corners now, setting each other up towards the final turn, heavy on the brakes at 19 towards 20. This is where Loxton really needs to maximise his exit if he wants to have a look at 1. It ended in disaster the last time he did, but he could pull it up cleaner this time. He's learned from his mistakes. He won't make the same mistake twice, and if the door is open, he will certainly invite himself to go on through. Lap 23, 2 laps to go. This is the second last opportunity into 1 that Loxton is going to have, and he's nowhere near close enough this time around. Look for Aaron Gilbert in the background as well. The last time there was an incident at turn 1, there was a major incident at turn 1, was these 2. Before that, it was McConkey and Gilbert, and Loxton went on through. Could we see a return of serve? And if McConkey and Loxton come together again, Aaron Gilbert well placed to drive on through and take the lead of this one with only a couple of laps to go, so there wouldn't be enough time for either of these guys to get anything back. It's stabilised at about half a second with a lap and a half to go. A bit of a lock up there for Brodie McConkey, but he is driving well at the moment. He's keeping his eyes forward. He's not worrying too much about Brett Loxton behind, and that's fantastic. That's exactly what you need to do in the lead of this one. If he can hold on, it will be a fantastic effort. These 3 cars you can see on your screen are all walking wounded. There is not a car in this group that is pointing in the right direction without some sort of damage on it. They've all come together with each other at some stage in this race, and it's left them all a little bit wounded. They have pulled away from Phil Manuel, who's 19 seconds away in P4, but as they come around to start the final lap, Jared, there isn't much separating them, but Loxton's fallen away a little bit, you have to feel like, unless he makes a major mistake here. McConkey's in the box seat.
Don't write anything off just yet, though, of course, because final lap always brings out something just a little bit different, a little bit special. I just don't know if Brett Loxton's got anything left to give, if he's going to be able to get close enough to have a crack at it, or for that matter, for Gilbert to get close enough to have a crack at Loxton. I think there's just enough space in between them that we probably aren't going to see too much more of a battle here at the front end of this field. It'd be lovely to see a side-by-side finish and just a thousandth or two in it, but I think these three have just been way too consistent. And when you look at the 20-second gap from Aaron Gilbert back to Phil Manuel, it's hard to call these guys anything other than almost perfect in terms of racing tonight.
They've done an exceptional job. A black flag very late in this one for Matt Mellor, so that's a very unfortunate time, and I think he'll have to cross the line and take that as a post-race time penalty. But Brodie McConkey, he's got about a second in hand to Brett Loxton now. He has been almost flawless this evening. A couple incidents here and there that weren't necessarily his fault, but he had a coming together in Aaron Gilbert in the opening stages of this one. He fought hard to get back to the rear bumper of Brett Loxton. He went for the undercut. It paid off when he came out well in front of Loxton. Loxton slowly reeled him in. They came together, but he held his nerve. He had pole. He took a very comfortable win in race two. In race one. He's had to work harder in race number two, but he will come out of the final corner. He'll cross the line, and Brodie McConkey is going to go 2 from 2 at Circuit of the Americas. He wins race number 2. Brett Loxton comes home in second. Aaron Gilbert in third. They're still going on at the back of the pack, though, and this battle between Middle Finger Racing is far from finished. It's going to be Bruns, Alesi, and Cox as they come towards the final few corners. They're into 16, 17, and 18 now. They've ditched, Dan Stevens has ditched and pulled away from them a little bit and made sure that he's secured that top 10 finish. But between these three, it is well and truly on for Sheep Stations as they come towards the final corner. Has anyone got anything left in the tank?
Gavin Cox having a big dive up the inside. I don't think he's quite going to get there, and that'll be all she wrote. Bruns will hold on to 11th. Alessi will take 12th. Gavin Cox will stay in 13th. And with Brodie McConkey, unsurprisingly,
very happy with himself.
Very, very, very happy with that one tonight.
Yeah, it's look, he's almost gone and put on a clinic, hasn't he, of Circuit of the Americas, and a bit of a guide on how to drive the Circuit of the Americas in a 2014 supercar, car of the future era, V8 supercar. He has been flawless in his performance this evening. A bit of a coming together with Aaron Gilbert, but he shook that off. And there's Miguel Costa-Texeira just to congratulate him, and just a little bit of a well done there as he does a burnout himself. And that is a fantastic drive from Brodie McConkey. Fantastic drive from everyone out there this evening. Henry King as well, this man on screen, take a bow up 7 places. He's come from the back of the field after that early incident to get to 13th in race 1, and then improved a further 7 spots in race 2 to finish in 6th. Michael Hammond as well, a shout out to him, in 7th place. He's up 8 after he didn't take the start in race 1, had to start from pit lane and worked his way back through the field as well. These are your full results. Brodie McConkey comes home 6/10 clear of Brett Loxton, who threw everything at it for that second race win. Aaron Gilbert in 3rd, then Phil Manuel, Harry Dodds, Henry King in 6th, Michael Hammond in 7th, Miguel Costa-Texeira in 8th, Matthew Day in the end finishes in P9 after a lot of toing and throwing with a lot of drivers, and somehow he still ended up in P9 with all the swapping around that was going on. He overtook drivers, he got overtaken, he still found himself in P9, a good result. Daniel Stevens comes home in 10th to start a bit of a train there of the Middle Finger Racing cars with Colin Bruns, Dina Lacey, Gavin Cox, Wayne Taylor, and Bray Loveridge rounding out your top 15. A difficult race for Loveridge after that early incident at the start of the race in race 2. Craig Bell and then Jason Merrifield, the last of the drivers to finish on the lead lap. Matt Mellor with that last lap black flag, which was super frustrating and disappointing for him. He came into the pit lane and tried to clear it, but I don't think it did in the end, so that'll be applied post-race. Scott Watts and John Holton, And then Nicholas Avine, he came out for a little bit there, but came back in and I think called it a day in the end. Matthew Deere, we saw retire early on after a difficult run-in with the fence in that second race. And Scott Perrins, unfortunately, not taking the start in either race this evening. Hopefully, we'll see him back out there in future rounds to come. But what a result there, Jared Cole. And we'll wait for a couple of drivers to jump in for a chat. But it was, fantastic racing this evening.
Yeah, it absolutely was, and I'm good. I'm glad to see it. I wasn't sure what we'd get out of Circuit of the Americas. It's an odd little track, but it has delivered here tonight for us. And I believe we've got Aaron Gilbert ready to have a chat to you, Isaac. So we'll bring him on into the booth.
Oh.
Here he is, Aaron Gilbert. Mate, good. Congratulations. A couple of good results for you tonight on the podium in both races. It looked like a tough little circuit out there tonight, so it has to feel good to be on the podium.
Yeah, it's really good. Come away with decent points haul for this one, which I actually didn't expect to do that well at this track for some reason, but we went pretty good.
Yeah, these cars, they look like they're a bit of a handful to drive around here with the constant change of direction and even trying to turn under brakes, which I think everyone knows supercars aren't the biggest fan of turning and braking at the same time. They don't like to do two things at once. Talk to us about that early race contact with you and Brodie McConkey. As both bounced back from that well. Was there much damage that you were carrying as a result of that, or was it just trying to catch back up and make up for lost time in the end?
Oh, I had a little bit of damage on the front, I think. Wasn't affecting the car too much, but I sort of knew that I was going to get a penalty from that. So I sort of put it in the back of my mind that if I could just hold on to third and build a gap to the cars behind us, it'll be some good points for me. So that's sort of how my mind went with that scenario. But I just spoke to Brodie and he's all good with that. He's, as long as it's not intentional, he's all good. So
yeah, certainly. Well, it certainly looks like you guys weren't the only one to come together at turn one. It looked like a bit of a handful to try and pull the car up there on occasion. But look, mate, Circuit of the Americas, it's done and dusted, which means that we are at the halfway point of the season now, and you're in a very, very strong position fighting for a championship. How are you feeling heading into the latter half of this season? Obviously, some great tracks still to come, but your thoughts on what lies ahead for you and how you're feeling?
I think I feel pretty good about the rest of the season, just as long as we can keep the consistency going and stay at the front. Bathurst is going to be a real test because everyone's going to have co-drivers and you've got to rely on them to do a good job. And we know Bathurst is a hard racetrack anyway, so that's going to be a big ticket item to finish that race well. So yeah, I think backup's going to be exciting, hopefully. Not too many incidents along the way, but we'll see.
We'll hope so. But look, mate, we appreciate you taking the time to have a chat to us this evening after what was some pretty tough racing it looked like out there. Before we let you go, mate, anyone you want to give a shout out to, say thanks to, and all that?
I just want to say thanks to Brett for working on the setup this week for the round and the team. Thank our sponsors, Jinx Shifters. Thank the Race Control and you guys in the broadcast.
Well, appreciate it, mate. I'm sure everyone appreciates the shout out too. Congratulations once again. It's a fantastic evening from you, and hopefully when we get to the Bend in a few weeks' time, we'll be chatting to you there as well.
Hope so. I'll chat to you hopefully again soon.
Thanks very much. That's Aaron Gilbert there. Race 2, third place. And now we bring in the man that won both races this evening and put on probably what I would call an absolute clinic here at Circuit of the Americas, a lesson in how to drive this circuit and how to drive it well. It is Brodie McConkey, mate. Welcome into the booth. Congratulations, pole and 2 victories tonight. You drove superbly. You have to be extremely happy with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely cool to finally get a win. We've showed pace at times throughout the season, and especially at Phillip Island after Money shifting the motor. So it's cool to finally just get one in the bag. And then pole and 2 wins is always a nice thing to happen over a race weekend.
Mate, the car looked on rails in qualifying. How did you feel coming into it? Did you know that was the pace that you were going to have compared to the rest of the field? You had a few tenths on them there in quali, and it looks like race 1 was a bit of, in a way, the pressure off towards the end with the gap you had. Was it something you knew you were going to have the pace, or was sort of a little bit surprising once the time started to come through in quali that you were as clear of the others as you were?
I definitely think we had a better quali car than race car. But in saying that, practice, we sort of had a bit of an idea in practice. We were running full fuel at the start, and we're still 2 tenths ahead. I assume the other boys were 2 tenths on full fuel as well. I probably wasn't expecting, not to be on pole by 3 tenths. Aaron and Brett are obviously very quick as well. So I never sort of go into an event thinking I'm going to be the fastest or anything like that. I think, honestly, quali pace over the rounds we've been at, I feel like we've been really strong. And then even at the last 2 rounds, I've made mistakes when I could have had a pole lap. But I think Brett and Aaron are really locked in their race runs and can really hold the tyre on. So I still think I got a little bit of work to do in terms of race pace. Those boys really kept me on my toe on that one. So it was good fun.
Well, talk to us about those races. Obviously, you said you felt like you weren't as strong in race pace. You had a couple comings together that really probably weren't your fault necessarily, with both those guys. At one stage, Brett Loxton and Aaron Gilbert, you managed to get out the other side relatively unscathed. How did the car feel after that? Was there much damage on the cars? Because it certainly looks like you had plenty of pace still.
No, surprisingly not. These cars are known for being pretty fragile with contact, but I didn't feel anything. Things happen in racing, so it's there's no. I wasn't angry or anything like that. You got to have a crack, and these cars can be quite hard to pass if you don't really commit. So it's all part of it. I've made my mistakes in previous rounds and turned people myself. So it's just all good fun.
Certainly looks like a lot of fun out there, and mate, look, it's great for you. 2 victories tonight, which pretty much just asserts that you are the king of Circuit of the Americas, and just know how to put a lot together around this place. Mate, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thanks to?
Yeah, massive thanks to the boys at Pro and Esports, Clean City Racing as well, and title sponsor Gripline as well for their support and what they do for us. It's really awesome to have them on board. And thanks to the broadcast team at Simple Broadcasts, and to the boys for putting the league on.
Well, thank you very much, mate. It was a pleasure to chat to you, and great momentum for you heading into the second half of the season. We look forward to chatting to you again, I'm sure, because once you're in this winning form, you certainly won't want to let it go.
Awesome. Cheers, boys. Appreciate it.
Braden McConkey there, winner in race number 2 and race number 1. And your pole sitter for the evening. He really did put on a great display this evening, didn't he, Jared? It looked fantastic. And it seems like that car a little bit more robust. So maybe everyone needs to go and have a chat to Brody's car maker about how he's building his Ford Falcons.
Oh, look, I think it was probably just as much luck as anything else that kept him in that second race, wasn't it? You don't often get clattered into by 2 separate cars and manage to drive it off in one of these. So I think it'd be wise to probably not buy any lotto tickets, because he'd probably used up all the luck that he had. But it was really good to see him finally actually get the result here tonight. He's been really threatening right throughout this season. And to finally see it come across the line it's got to be a huge mood boost for him. And I'm sure we're going to see him look for another one before the season is out.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to what he can do as we move into the second half of this season. We are 5 rounds in now officially, the halfway point of the season. And we wait 3 weeks' time, we'll go racing at the Bend West Circuit. And then we head to Bathurst, Detroit, Sandown and Adelaide for the remainder of the season. So plenty of great racing still to come here at Legacy Australian Racing Championship. But of course, if you need to get your racing fix in the meantime, we have plenty of series on offer here at Simple Racing Broadcast. Next Monday, we have the Trans Am Series heading to Chicago for MC Motorsport. Tuesday night, we have the Alliance Sim Racing Solar Guard St. Cobain Supercar Championship, and they are heading to Bathurst for their next round. And of course, it is also MC Motorsport and their GT3 championship. And they are heading to, I actually don't know where they're heading to next week. I've actually, it's lost on me. Silverstone, that's where they're going. They're heading to Silverstone next week. So plenty of racing in next week and the weeks to come. But obviously, we'll hopefully see you back here in 3 weeks' time for the next round of Legacy Australian Motorsport. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, look after one another, and we'll see you very, very soon. Have a good evening for everyone here at Simple Racing Broadcasts and Legacy Australian Motorsport, or Legacy Australian Racing Championship. My name is Isaac Fogarty alongside Jared Cole for Simple Racing Broadcasts. It's been a pleasure to have your company. We'll see you very, very soon, but for now, it's bye-bye.